The college football playoff has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. In a little over 5 days' time, we will be sitting down, watching wherever you are. Maybe you're standing, Oklahoma hosting Alabama. You see the playoff bracket behind me, ladies and gentlemen. Just incredible games on deck. Today's video, I will be ranking each of the offenses in the college football playoff. Okay, now I need to preface this because some of you will be up in arms. You will be saying, Ian, what is this list? What are you doing? Why are you doing it like this? Because it's fun, number one, and it's a good exercise. And I think you in the comments should do it as well. Hey, don't just say, Ian, you're way wrong. Say, Ian, you're way wrong. Here's my list. And then I will say, no, you're way wrong. Watch the video again. That is the correct list. So thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, we will jump into the rankings. But look at that bracket, man. It's just, I've looked at it maybe 300 times this week, just staring at it, just thinking, wow, this is amazing that we get this college football playoff bracket, even with James Madison and Tulane. Wouldn't trade it for a 14 playoff any day of the week, ladies and gentlemen. Not any day of the week. Here we go. The best offense in the college football playoff. If you are listening on podcast, you will not be able to see the screen. Unfortunate for you. You should be listening on podcast, but I've broken the offenses down into 5 groups. Okay. So I've broken it down into the group of 5 group. Okay. So they're going to be number 11 and number 12. And then I broke it down. The next worst group would be the bottom 2 Power 5 teams or Power 4 teams. And then there's kind of a middle Power 5 to Power 4 teams, which would be 4 different teams. And then kind of an upper Power 4 teams, which would be 3 different teams. And then I think there is a clear number 1 offense in the college football playoff. But before I jump in, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and subscribe down below if you have not, and then follow at Ian Fritts Show on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram as well. Good stuff over there if you are not tuned in. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Number 12 in the rankings. Again, 11 and 12 will be James Madison or Tulane because, quite frankly, they don't compare to the other teams. I'll just put both of them up there. I've got James Madison at number 11 and Tulane at number 12. I think Tulane's played tougher competition than James Madison, so maybe that factors into why I think their offense is a little worse currently. It could end up, looking better in the college football playoff than James Madison, but again, they're playing different teams. Who knows? James Madison probably playing a little better team in Oregon than Ole Miss, but we'll get to that later on in the week. But again, these offenses, talent-wise, who they've played, it does not compare to what these other 10 teams have played so far. So I had to put them at the bottom, and I had to put them in their own tier. But if I could choose one offense right now of those 2, I would go with the Dukes. I like Alonzo Barnett III. I think he's a good athlete, good player. I like him a little bit more than Tulane currently. Look, I think Jake Retzlaff is a good player. But right now, I'm just not loving what Tulane is giving me. So James Madison 11, Tulane to 12. I think that's fine. Look, again, they're not playing the same game as these other 10 teams. They're not, okay? Week to week, maybe one week they are. But over 12, 13 weeks that we play this season, they're not playing the same football game that these top 10 teams are playing, okay? So the next group would be number 10 and number 9. This is what I've categorized them as, the bottom of the Power 4 teams in the college football playoff. I think there are 2 clear bottom feeders on the offensive side of the football in this college football playoff bracket. And at number 10, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put number 9 up there because I have Oklahoma at number 9. And let me preface this. If you put Alabama at 9, Oklahoma at 10, makes complete sense to me. They've both been abysmal as of late, ladies and gentlemen. There is a clear separation from number 9 to number 8. If I could put Oklahoma and Alabama down there at number 100 and then put, whoever is at number 8 at number 8, I think that's a good enough separation. But again, for purposes of this, I have to put 9, have to put 8. But there's a gigantic, gargantuan gap from 9 to 8 when we get to that. But OU, why do I have them above Alabama? Look, both of these offenses have not been good. They've actually been quite bad as of late. However, a lot of people would think just by looking at it that OU's offense has been worse than Alabama's. That is not exactly true, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. You go back and you look at the same teams they have played. They actually gained the same amount of yards, 320 yards on offense versus those five teams that they have as common opponents. So they're moving the ball the same against the common opponents, okay? But Oklahoma's actually better on third down, better on fourth down against those teams than Alabama. And I believe their offensive line has been playing better football as of late than the Alabama offensive line. And you want to say injuries are part of that? I get it. Makes sense. Whatever. Oklahoma's dealing with injuries as well. Okay. They had to have their right guard play center in their last game. Never played center in his life before. I get it. Parker Brailsford for Alabama, center there. He's been injured for half of the season. I get it. Every team's dealing with it. I don't want to hear it. Okay. But those reasons, better on third down, better on fourth down. And I think the O line has been playing better. And Oklahoma, they haven't been great at running the football, but they're not getting negative rushing yards in a game. Okay, that's not what Oklahoma's doing. They're getting like 50. But Alabama's getting negative. So I think as of late, it's justified to have Oklahoma above Alabama. But again, both of those two teams in their own tier, way down at the bottom. Way down at the bottom. So when you hear who I've put at 8, 7, 6, and 5, okay, don't get up in arms. Oh, OU's only 2 behind, blah, blah, blah. No, they're a million behind, but I had to put them at number 9, okay? The middle group, 4 teams in this middle group. Again, Power 4 teams. All of these teams just light years better than what Oklahoma and Alabama have been. So don't get caught up in 8 and 9. You only have Oklahoma behind 8 by 1 spot. No, they're just a huge gap from 9 to 8. Just gigantic, just huge gap. I'm trying to emphasize that because I know people will be upset when they just see the list. Huge gap, huge difference, okay, from 9 to 8. Now, they've all at times this 5, 6, 7, 8 group have had their moments where you think, whoa, is that maybe a top 3, top 2 offense in the entire country? They all have those moments. They all have those moments. And I'm going to put them all up there right now. I have Texas Tech at number 8, Miami at number 7, Georgia at number 6, and Oregon at number 5, ladies and gentlemen. Now, here's my reasoning for having Texas Tech below Miami, Georgia, and Oregon, because I kind of compared all of them together. I think they're kind of similar. I do think they are the middle pack of the college football playoff. I don't think they cracked that top 4 in that second tier group. Now, Texas Tech, you look at them statistically, the numbers pop off the charts. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They're exceptional pretty much everywhere. The skill position guys, they got 3 wide receivers who look like trees out there. Okay, they're unbelievable. They got 2 running backs that can do whatever you want. One's more of a kind of a bruiser guy, and then the other one is kind of shifty who can catch the ball out of the backfield. They both can do that, but they do have 2 different types of backs, and that's what you want in a backfield. You don't want them all to be the same guy. So they got versatility, not just in their wideouts, but in their backfield, and they have a great tight end who can get it done as a safety blanket, kind of a he can block as well. Look, they got really good talent on that offense. Not saying they don't, but when compared to 7, 6, and 5, Miami, Georgia, and Oregon, I had to say, hey, if I could take these offenses, who would I take? I think I would take Texas Tech as that 4th of that group because I think they have the worst offensive line of those 4 teams. I think it's worse than Miami's. I think it's worse than Georgia's, and I think it's worse than Oregon's. And I also think they have the worst quarterback of those 4 teams. So with that in mind, yeah, I love what they got at wide receiver. I love what they got at running back. Love what they got at tight end. But when you don't have the best offensive line, you got the worst quarterback of the group. I think I'm going to have to put you as that bottom tier team in that grouping. Again, just because it's next to OU does not mean I think Texas Tech and OU should be compared next to each other. No way. No way. Texas Tech's offense has been light years better than Oklahoma's so far, okay? They're compared to Miami, Georgia, and Oregon. That's where they are. Now, Miami at number 7. Why are they behind Georgia and Oregon? Look, I really struggled, and this was extremely difficult trying to rank this. That's why I want you to do it in the comments, because you have to put them somewhere. You got to put all these teams somewhere. It's extremely difficult. I 7 seemed really low for Miami, and I was like, man, this cannot be right. I love what they've got at wide receiver. I love what they've got at running back. I love that offensive line. And then I thought, well, you know what? They kind of go, in spurts, okay? They kind of, sputter a little bit here and there, but when they are at their potential, Okay, I think it's better than Texas Tech, but not quite as good as Georgia and Oregon. They can beat you by scoring 50 a game. They can do that with Malachi Tony, Carson Beck, that passing attack. They can do that. Mark Fletcher at running back. They can do all of those things. But compared to Georgia, Oregon, I don't think they've shown it as much as Georgia and Oregon have this season. So I got them at that number 7 spot. Georgia is at the number 6 spot. They can run the ball with Gunnar Stockton. They can run it with Nate Frazier. Now, they've been a little banged up at the running back position, but they can do the running game in a variety of different ways. Zachariah Branch at wide receiver is a game changer. He's a game breaker. Okay, kind of like Malachi Tony. He can break the game. So I love what they got at that wide receiver position. I think they're all getting better as the season goes along. And then they got about 3,000 tight ends that they can throw the football to. Texas Tech's got that one guy. They got one guy. Georgia's got 55 at the tight end position. Unbelievable depth there at the tight end position. I don't know how they do it. They seemingly get the best tight ends every year. Must be just that's where you go if you're a tight end. I get it. Hey, I would go there if you got Brock Bowers coming out of college there, and you just a factory for tight end. Darnell Washington, and then they're just consistent. Now, Gunnar Stockton probably the least consistent part of that offense, but when he's at his best, man, he is really, really good. Won 2 certified stud muffin awards this season. No other player did that. So when he's at his best, he delivers in the biggest moments. So I got them at number 6, and then I have Oregon as the best of that 5, 6, 7, 8 middle group for the offenses, and it's because I think I like Dante Moore the best out of that group. And I think that offensive line is the best of the group. So similar to Texas Tech, where I think they got the worst O-line and the worst quarterback. Well, in the biggest moments, in the biggest games, those are the things you need to perform the best. And I think Oregon's got an offensive line and Oregon's got a quarterback that when the game's on the line, they can deliver. And you go to Dante Moore's biggest moments of the year when the game's on the line against Penn State and then against Iowa, even against Washington to some extent. He delivers and he's awesome when the game is on the line. So I love what he's done there in big time moments. So I got him at the number 5 spot. Not just him, his team, Oregon Ducks at number 5. Then we move on to this kind of upper tier. I think there's a separation from 5 to 4. Not a huge, gigantic separation from 5, 6, 7, 8 to 4, 3, and 2. But there is a gap in my mind. So I'll put that upper tier teams at number 4. I got Ohio State, number 3, Indiana, and then number 2, Texas A&M. Look, again, you can move these 3 around any way you want, but I do think they are above Oregon, Georgia, Miami, and Texas Tech. Again, Ohio State, they could probably be higher. You could put them as high as number 2, and I would be okay with that. But you play an Indiana team, and they kind of shut you down a little bit. Maybe that says more about Indiana than it does Ohio State. I think it probably does, and we'll get there when we do the best defenses, so stay tuned on the lookout for that on the channel as well. But I think sometimes they get into their head and they think, hey, man, we don't have the 2 best wide receivers in the country. We don't need to use them when they should. Hey, go full force. Just throw the ball down the field. That's what you need to do, Ohio State. And when you do that, you could probably go all the way up to number 1, but you don't do that all the time. So you're going to be in this kind of a second tier. And then Indiana at number 3. Look, you got the Heisman, Fernando Mendoza. Statistically, not one of the greatest Heisman seasons of all time, but he probably deserved it over the other guys he's compared to this season. So you got the Heisman, you're going to be in the top tier of the offenses. But I do think, and again, injury at the right tackle position, the right tackle, if he's not healthy, that could be an issue for Indiana in the college football playoff against the defensive lines they're going to go up against. But I love Fernando Mendoza. I love the wide receivers, Becker, Surratt, Cooper Jr., all studs. And then they got 3 stud running backs as well. But that right tackle spot worries me a little bit. And then I got Texas A&M at number 2. And a lot of people are going to say, Texas A&M, no, they don't play nobody, Texas A&M. You would be probably correct in your analysis of they haven't had as difficult schedule as some of these other teams on here. But compared to Indiana, Ohio State, yeah, Oregon, probably not Georgia, but Miami, Texas Tech, yeah, all their schedules are kind of similar in my mind in the terms of talent and teams they've played. And the offense has been unbelievable for like 99% of the season. And I just can't not put Mario Craver, Kevin Concepcion up there in the 2 spot. I just can't. The dudes fly down the football field. They're like road runners. Have you ever seen a road runner? They just go. They just go. That's what their wide receivers are like. Gazelles, cheetahs, whatever you want to call them. They're unbelievable. freak athletes, and I love that. And they got freak athletes at the running back position. The offensive line has probably been the best all year of these 12 teams, so I like them at the number 2 spot. But number 1, in my mind, it's clear that Ole Miss has the best offense in the college football playoff, and I don't think it's particularly close, okay? I think they've got the best offensive line. If not the best, it's definitely top 3. I think they've got the best quarterback in the entire country, not just the college football playoff, the entire country in Trinidad Chambliss. If you were to factor in his game stats for the rest of the season in the first 2.5 games he did not play, he would have won the Heisman Trophy with those stats in an 11-1 record. He would have won the Heisman Trophy with those stats. So I think they got the best offensive line, top 3 at worst. They got the best quarterback in my mind, and they also have the best running back in Kawan Lacey in the entire college football playoff. So you got the best offensive line, best quarterback, best running back, and you probably have a top 3, I'm going to go top 3 at worst wide receiver group. There's a lot of really good wide receiver groups in this: Ohio State, A&M, Indiana, Oregon, Georgia, Miami, Texas Tech, Alabama. Oklahoma probably the only one of those top 10 teams that doesn't have an exceptional wide receiver group. So, but I was still, Ole Miss has 5 guys with 500 yards receiving or more. And then they've got one at 400. That's 6 different guys. That's unbelievable. This offense has been exceptional all year long. I think they are deserving of the number 1 spot. That is the list, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Again, follow at Ian Fritts Show, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and then subscribe down below. Now, leave a comment. Hey, Ian, you're wrong, but give me your list. You can't just say you're wrong and then not give me your list. That's not how this works. So give me your list in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
45, 40, 45, 50, 45. There goes Davis. Oh, my